The cargo ship Pioneer drifted through space, its navigation systems flickering with error messages. Captain James stood at the bridge, watching the stars outside look wrong somehow. They had been testing a new jump drive, something the Earth Defense Force had been developing for faster travel between Mars and Jupiter. But something had gone terribly wrong. "Captain, these readings make no sense," said Navigator Maria, her fingers dancing across the holographic displays. "According to this, we're nowhere near Sol System." The ship's engineer, Tom, rushed onto the bridge, his face pale. "The jump drive overloaded during the test. We've traveled much farther than planned. I don't even know how far." Before James could respond, the ship's sensors screamed warnings. 3 massive vessels appeared from nowhere, surrounding the Pioneer. These ships were nothing like human design. They were organic-looking, with surfaces that seemed to pulse and breathe like living creatures. Unknown vessels. "This is Captain James of the Earthship Pioneer. We mean no harm." Our navigation system malfunctioned. James broadcast on all frequencies. The response came not through their communication systems, but directly into their minds. The voice was cold and ancient. "Humans, you have entered the Galactic Council territory without permission. This is forbidden space for primitive species." The crew looked at each other, fear creeping into their hearts. But James stood straighter. He had faced pirates near asteroid belts. He had survived solar storms. He would not show fear now. "We apologize for the intrusion. We'll leave immediately once we repair our systems," James replied aloud, hoping they could hear him. One of the alien ships moved closer. Through the view screen, they could see its surface rippling. Suddenly, beings materialized on their bridge. Tall, silver-skinned creatures with 4 arms and eyes that glowed purple. The crew instinctively reached for their weapons, simple magnetic rifles they carried for emergencies. The lead alien, wearing robes that seemed to be made of starlight, studied them. "You show no fear. Interesting. Most primitive species cower when they first meet the Vex Empire. We're explorers," James said firmly, meeting the alien's gaze. "We faced the darkness of space, radiation storms, and the vast emptiness between stars. We learned long ago that fear serves no purpose when you're already in danger." The Vex leader tilted its head. "Your ship is primitive. Your weapons are laughable. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Yet you stand as if you are our equals." "Because we are," Maria spoke up, surprising everyone. "We might be new to this part of space, but we're not new to survival. Humans have climbed from caves to stars in just thousands of years. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that nearly ended our world. We're still here," Tom added, "and we've done it together. That's what makes us strong." The Vex leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Galactic Council will be interested in you. Most species we encounter beg for mercy or try to flee. You stand and talk. That's what humans do," James said. "We talk first, fight if we must, but we never give up." The alien beings looked at each other, communicating in ways the humans couldn't understand. Finally, their leader spoke again. "You have violated our borders, but perhaps this was meant to happen. The Council has been watching your species for some time. You are not supposed to achieve jump technology for another 100 cycles. We are fast learners," James said with a slight smile. "Indeed, you will come with us. The Council will decide your fate." The crew tensed, but James raised his hand to calm them. "We'll come peacefully, but know this. Earth has thousands of ships. If we don't return, they'll come looking. Threats, human? No, just facts. We protect our own." The Vex leader studied them for a long moment. "Perhaps you are not as primitive as we thought. Very well. Follow us, and we shall see if humanity is ready for the greater universe." As the alien beings vanished from their bridge, The crew of the Pioneer looked at each other. They had accidentally stumbled into something huge, a galactic community they never knew existed. But one thing was certain. They would face whatever came next the human way, together, unafraid, and ready for anything. Asterisk. The Pioneer followed the Vex ships through a massive gateway that appeared in space like a tear in reality itself. On the other side, the human crew gasped at what they saw. A space station, the size of Earth's moon, floated before them, made of crystalline structures that seemed to defy physics. Ships of every imaginable design docked at its ports, some mechanical, some organic, some that appeared to be made of pure energy. "My God," whispered Maria, "how many species are out there?" Their ship was guided to a docking bay where gravity suddenly took hold, something that should have been impossible in space. As they stepped out, following the Vex escorts, they found themselves in a vast chamber filled with beings from across the galaxy. A creature made entirely of blue flame floated past. Another that looked like a walking tree nodded at them with eyes made of amber. The diversity was overwhelming, but the human crew kept their composure. Walking with purpose and confidence, they were led to a massive council chamber where representatives of dozens of species sat in tiered circles. At the center, 5 beings sat on elevated platforms, clearly the leadership of this galactic council. "Humans of Earth," boomed a voice from a being that looked like it was made of living crystal. "You stand before the Galactic Council. You have violated our most sacred law, entering our space before achieving Level 3 civilization status." James stepped forward. "We apologize for the intrusion. It was not intentional. Our experimental drive malfunctioned. Ignorance is not an excuse," said another council member, this one resembling a giant mantis with metallic skin. "The penalty for such violation is usually the isolation of your entire system for 1,000 cycles." The crew exchanged worried glances, but kept their faces neutral. A third council member, peering as a cloud of shifting colors, spoke more gently. "However, the Vex report something unusual. You showed no fear when confronted. This is unprecedented for a Level 1 species." "With respect," Tom spoke up, causing murmurs in the chamber, "we don't see why we should fear you. We're all just beings trying to survive in this universe." The mantis being clicked its mandibles in what might have been annoyance. "You should fear us because we could destroy your entire planet with a single ship." "You could," James agreed calmly. "But you haven't, which means you're civilized beings who prefer talking to destroying. Just like us." This caused an uproar in the chamber. Several species stood up, speaking in languages the translator couldn't parse. The crystal being raised what might have been its hand for silence. "You dare compare yourselves to us? Your species still fights among itself. You've barely left your own system. You pollute your own planet." "All true," Maria admitted. "But we're learning. Every mistake teaches us something. That's how humans grow, through challenge and error, through facing our fears and overcoming them." A new voice entered the discussion, an elderly-looking being with 6 eyes and skin like polished copper. "Tell me, humans, what do you know of the dark expanse?" The crew looked confused. James answered, "Nothing. We've never heard that term. It's a region of space where ships disappear, where ancient horrors lurk. No species has successfully explored it and returned. Even we fear it. So it's unexplored territory?" Tom asked, his engineer's mind already working. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. The copper being continued, "You speak as if you're considering exploring it. Why not?" James said, "Every frontier looks impossible until someone crosses it. Humans crossed deadly oceans in wooden boats. We went to our moon in tin cans. The impossible is just another word for not yet done." The cloud being pulsed with different colors. "Remarkable. They truly don't understand the concept of insurmountable obstacles. Because there aren't any, Maria said firmly. There are only problems we haven't solved yet. The crystal being stood, its form towering over the assembly. The council will deliberate. You claim to be explorers, to be fearless. Very well, we offer you a test. There is a derelict station on the edge of council space. Something killed everyone aboard. 3 expeditions have gone to investigate. None returned. If you can discover what happened, can return with proof, we will consider your species for early admission to the council. The mantis being clicked urgently. That's suicide. They're only level 1. Then they'll fail, and we'll have our answer about humanity. The crystal being replied. James looked at his crew. Without words, they nodded their agreement. He turned back to the council. We accept your challenge. The chamber erupted in chaos, but the humans stood firm, ready to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their unbreakable spirit. Asterisk. The Pioneer approached the derelict station 3 days later, equipped with scanning equipment the council had reluctantly provided. The station hung in space like a dead metal flower, its petals twisted and torn. No lights shone from within. No energy signatures registered on their instruments. Whatever happened here, it was violent, Tom observed, studying the hull breaches. These tears, they came from the inside. James nodded grimly. Maria, keep the engines warm. We might need to leave quickly. The captain selected his boarding team. Himself, Tom, and their security officer, David, who had been quiet during their council meeting, but was their best fighter. They put on their EVA suits, checking their magnetic rifles and emergency beacons. As they floated through the station's torn hull. Their lights pierced the darkness to reveal a nightmare. The walls were covered in what looked like claw marks, some so deep they went through solid metal. But no bodies. Not a single corpse from the 100 beings who had supposedly died here. Captain, over here, David called, his voice tense over the com. They found him in what appeared to be the command center. The walls here were covered in symbols written in different languages, all seeming to say the same thing. Their translators struggled before finally producing. They come from within. From within what? Tom asked, but before anyone could answer, their suit's proximity alarm screamed. Something moved in the darkness beyond their lights. Not outside the station, inside with them. David raised his rifle, but James held up a hand. Wait, listen. There was a sound like whispers, countless voices speaking in unison, but saying nothing comprehensible. The temperature in their suits dropped, frost forming on their visors despite the heating systems. Then they saw them. Shadows that moved independently of any light source. Shapes that hurt to look at directly, as if reality itself bent around them. The things that had killed everyone on this station. Dimensional parasites. Tom breathed, recognizing them from theoretical papers he'd read. They exist between spaces. They feed on fear and life energy. The shadows moved closer, surrounding them. David's hands shook on his rifle. These things had killed Council expeditions, beings far more advanced than humans. What chance did they have? But James did something unexpected. He laughed. Is that all you are? Shadows and whispers? He turned off his rifle and clipped it to his belt. I've been more scared of my grandmother when I broke her favorite vase. The shadows paused, seeming confused. They pressed closer, their whispers becoming screams, showing visions of death and horror. They showed Earth burning. They showed loved ones dying. They showed the vast emptiness of space consuming everything. Tom understood what James was doing. He lowered his weapon, too. You know what? My daughter's piano recital was scarier than this. At least that was real torture. David caught on, though his voice was strained. My ex-wife's lawyer. Now that was true horror. The shadows writhed, their forms becoming more solid, more desperate. They fed on fear, but the humans were denying them their food. Instead of terror, they were offering jokes, mundane comparisons, treating cosmic horror as an inconvenience. You want to know what humans fear? James asked the writhing darkness. We fear not trying. We fear giving up. We fear letting down the people counting on us. But you? You're just another obstacle. The captain pulled out a simple flare from his belt. Ancient. Technology by council standards. Just burning chemicals. He lit it, and the harsh red light filled the chamber. The shadows screeched and pulled back. Not because the light hurt them, but because the humans' lack of fear was literally starving them. Here's what happened, Tom said, understanding flooding through him. The other expeditions came here afraid. They knew beings had died here, so they expected death. Their fear fed these things, made them stronger, until the fear killed them. But we ... We're too stubborn to die to space ghosts, David finished, actually grinning now. The shadows were fading, starving, trying desperately to find purchase in the humans' minds. They showed them visions of the council laughing at them, of Earth being destroyed for their failure, of being lost in space forever. Nice try, James said, pulling out a sample container. As the parasites weakened, they began to solidify, becoming capturable. But humans wrote horror stories for fun. We make entertainment out of our fears. You're not our nightmare. You're our Tuesday. With the parasites trapped and weak, the team searched the station properly. They found the logs, the records of what happened. The parasites were ancient, older than the council, feeding on advanced civilization's existential fears. But humans, with their younger, stranger relationship with fear, were almost immune. As they returned to the Pioneer with their evidence, Tom mused, You realize what this means? A council's greatest fear, and we just bottled it up like fireflies. James nodded, looking at the container, holding the weakened shadows. Let's show the council what humans can do when we refuse to be afraid. Asterisk. The council chamber was silent as James placed the containment unit on the display platform. Inside, the shadowy parasites writhed weakly, barely visible. Every being in the chamber leaned away instinctively, fear radiating from them in waves the humans could almost feel. Impossible. The crystal being's voice cracked like breaking glass. The devourers cannot be contained. They are fear itself made manifest. We're fear, Tom corrected, pulling up the station's logs on the holographic display. They're parasitic entities from dimensional rifts. They feed on fear, growing stronger with each feeding. The more advanced a civilization, the more complex their fears, the better the feeding. David added, Every team you sent knew the danger. They went in terrified. Their fear made these things into monsters before they even encountered them. The mantis being's mandibles clicked rapidly. But you captured them? How? Maria, who had been studying the data during their return, stepped forward. We didn't defeat them with technology or weapons. We defeated them with humor, with perspective, with sheer human stubbornness. We refused to give them what they needed. The cloud being pulsed erratically. You're saying you defeated an ancient terror by not being afraid? By choosing not to be afraid, James clarified. Fear is natural, but humans learned long ago that we can choose how we respond to it. We can let it control us, or we can laugh at it, push through it, use it. The elderly copper-skinned being stood slowly. Show us the full logs. The holographic display lit up with the final recordings from the station. The council watched as previous expeditions arrived in full battle gear, with weapons that could destroy moons, with shields that could stop supernovas. But all their preparation was for physical threats. The parasites slipped through their defenses, fed on their terror, grew stronger with each scream. Then they watched the human footage. 3 humans in basic eval suits, with rifles that wouldn't scratch council armor, joking about ex-wives and piano recitals, while shadows of death surrounded them. "This changes everything," the crystal being said slowly. "For 10,000 cycles, we've avoided that sector of space. We've lost ships, whole colonies to these entities. And you're telling us the solution was to not be afraid?" "It's not that simple," James said. "You can't just decide not to be afraid. It took humanity thousands of years of facing death daily to develop this ... attitude. We're not fearless. We're just experienced at being afraid and doing things anyway." A new voice spoke, one that hadn't been heard before. From the highest tier of the chamber, a being made of pure light descended. The entire council bowed, except the humans who simply watched with curiosity. "I am the eldest," it said, its voice like cosmic wind. "I have watched this galaxy for 1,000,000 cycles. I have seen species rise and fall, but never have I seen what I witnessed today." The being approached the humans, its light warm, but not burning. "You are children by our standards. Your technology is primitive. Your lives are mayflies. Yet you have shown us something we forgot in our advancement, that courage is not the absence of fear, but action despite it. We just did what humans do," David said with a shrug. "We adapt." The eldest made a sound like stellar wind through leaves. "The parasites are not the only threat in the dark expanse. There are worse things, things that have kept even us at bay. Yet watching you, I wonder ... "You want us to explore it," James said. It wasn't a question. "The council will vote, but I will make my position clear. Humanity should not just be admitted to the council. They should be given explorer status. The first level 1 species to receive such honor." The chamber erupted in discussion, arguments in 100 languages. The mantis being stood. "They're not ready. They could die." "Everything dies," Maria said calmly. "The question is whether you do something worthwhile first. They could unleash something terrible." The cloud being added. "Or we could discover something wonderful," Tom countered. "You won't know unless someone looks." The crystal being raised its arms for silence. "We will vote. All in favor of granting humanity provisional membership and explorer status?" Lights began to appear, votes cast in favor. More and more, until over half the chamber glowed with approval. All opposed? Fewer lights, but still significant. The eldest's light pulsed. "The measure passes. Humanity, you are now provisional members of the Galactic Council. You will be given access to our basic technologies, star charts, and explorer privileges for the dark expanse." James stepped forward. "We accept, but on one condition. When we explore the dark expanse, we do it our way. No council oversight, no advanced weapons that we don't understand. If humanity is going to face the unknown, we face it as humans." The council murmured, but the eldest's light seemed to brighten with what might have been approval. "Agreed. Perhaps your primitive courage will succeed where our advanced fear has failed." Asterisk, 6 months had passed since humanity's accidental introduction to the Galactic Council. Earth had changed overnight. The revelation that humans were not alone, that a vast galactic community existed, had united humanity in ways no one had predicted. Old conflicts seemed petty in the face of the infinite frontier. The Pioneer had been refitted with council navigation, technology, just enough to travel safely, but not enough to lose their human edge. James stood on the bridge, looking at a crew that had grown from 4 to 20. Volunteers from Earth, each chosen for their unique ability to face the impossible with a grin. "Captain, we're approaching the edge of the dark expanse," Maria announced. She'd been promoted to navigation chief, overseeing both human and alien star charts. Through the view screen, they could see it, a region of space where stars seemed dimmer, where the very fabric of space looked wounded. Council ships hung back at the border, watching, They'd come to witness either humanity's greatest triumph or their final folly. "Come channel from the Council flagship," David reported from his security station. The crystal being appeared on their screen. "Humans, this is your last chance to reconsider. The dark expanse has swallowed civilizations older than your sun." "Appreciated, but we're going," James replied. "Someone has to be first. Why must it be you?" Tom, now chief engineer, laughed. "Because everyone else is too smart to try." The channel closed, and the Pioneer moved forward. As they crossed the threshold, their instruments went crazy. Reality seemed to bend around them. Colors that shouldn't exist flashed past their windows. The ship groaned but held together, human engineering at its finest, built to bend but not break. "Captain," one of the new crew members, a young woman named Ana, called out. Something was approaching. Something big. On their screens, they saw it. A creature, if it could be called that, the size of a small moon. It had elements of every nightmare: tentacles, eyes, mouths that opened to nothing. It was wrong in every way something could be wrong. The crew tensed, but James stood up calmly. "Open communications. All frequencies." "Captain, that thing might not even understand communication," Maria warned. "Everything understands something," James replied. Then, to the vast horror before them, he said, "Hello, we're humans. We're explorers. We mean no harm." The creature paused, its 1,000 eyes focused on their tiny ship. When it spoke, reality rippled. "You do not flee. You do not attack. What are you?" "We're the species that's too curious for our own good," James replied. "What are you?" "I am Guardian. I keep the darkness from spreading. For eons, I have been alone. Others come with fear or violence. You come with words." "Words are humanity's first tool," Ana said, finding her courage. "Before fire, before wheels, we add words." The creature moved closer, and they could see it more clearly. It wasn't just one being. It was millions, maybe billions, all joined together in a collective that had been holding back something even worse than itself. "The darkness beyond grows stronger. I grow weaker. When I fall, IT will consume all." "Then let us help," James said simply. Every eye on the creature focused on him. "You? Small things of meat and hope? How could you help?" "We don't know yet," Tom admitted. "But that's never stopped us before. We went to our moon before we knew if we could breathe there. We split atoms before we knew if it would destroy us. Ignorance isn't an obstacle. It's an opportunity." The creature was silent for so long they wondered if time had stopped. Then it laughed, a sound like galaxies colliding. Perhaps madness is what was needed. "Very well, humans, I will show you the darkness. If you survive seeing IT, perhaps you can do what ages of wisdom could not." The Pioneer was suddenly elsewhere, deeper in the dark expanse. Before them was a tear in space itself, and through it, something that made the Guardian look friendly. Pure entropy, the death of everything, reaching out with fingers of nothingness. The crew stared at the ultimate ending of all things. And then David said, "So, anyone else thinking we're going to need a bigger boat?" The laughter that filled the bridge was not the laughter of the mad or the ignorant. It was the laughter of a species that had looked at an uncaring universe and decided to care anyway. That had faced extinction and chosen to reach for the stars instead. "All right, people," James said, grinning. "We've got a universe to save. Let's show them how humans do impossible." As the Pioneer began its real mission, the Guardian watched with all its eyes. For the first time in eons, it felt something it had forgotten existed. Hope. The council ships at the border detected the Pioneer's beacon, still transmitting, going deeper into the dark expanse than anyone had gone before. The signal was clear. Humanity is here. We're not leaving until the job is done. And across the galaxy, Species that had lived in fear for millennia began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, these insane young humans might be exactly what the universe needed. Epilogue: the story of humanity's entry into galactic society would be told for generations, not as a tale of superior technology or military might, but as the story of the species that faced the impossible with a joke and a stubborn refusal to give. The Pioneer continues its mission in the dark expanse. Their reports, when they come, are filled with discoveries that make the Council question everything they thought they knew. And always, there's a note of human humor, a reminder that no matter how dark space gets, humans will find a way to light a candle and laugh at the shadows, because that's what humans do. They enter where they shouldn't be, face what they shouldn't face, and refuse to show fear. They're humanity. And they're just getting started. Asterisk.